They say it's all in my head, I still feel the pain. Every time it's cold and every time it rain, feel like ice water running through my veins. Since the day I got hit, I ain't been the same. See my dog die, they blew out his brains all on the window, feel like window pane. Had to suck it up and charge it to the game. Glizzy on my hip, I'm standing on my name. I'm a soul.
What up, my people? You hear me? I said I'm gonna come at y'all real quick with this one here, you hear me? It was on my fucking mind, you hear me? Thinking about my fucking Paul and my oldest brother, you hear me? Cause I was thinking about it after I had told y'all that story about my brother Mike and shit. And I was thinking about this nigga really have a pattern with him though. When he get drunk and he get loaded, right? And so like I had told y'all, his relationship with my oldest brother, it was a bad relationship. They was like partners more than father and son, right? And so it was one day he was getting loaded and shit, right? And he was getting drunk or whatever. And so my brother, he was talking shit to him over the phone. He had called him, I forgot what he had called. I think cause my brother was getting loaded that day himself, and he was staying with his grandparents or whatever. And so they had my brother mama had called my daddy like, you need to get your son. He tripping. He over there by my cause that's her parents, his grandparents from his mama's side, right? So his mama had called my daddy because they had called her and was like, you know, he tripping out back there, whatever. He you know, he doing, I don't know, like, you know, I guess I don't know what he was doing, but they were like, he need to, you know, get put under control because he was tripping back there. So his mama called my daddy, and so my daddy called him, and so when my daddy called him, that nigga went to going off, like, you know, I'm talking about like it was more like an emotional, you know, instead of like an anger. It's like kind of almost angry and emotional, you know. He was talking about shit like, you was never there for me and all this type of shit like that. And so my daddy, he already drunk and loaded, so he like, what nigga, what? Man, I'm coming pull up over there or whatever, you hear me? So when he say he gonna pull up over there, my brother like, you pull up over and I'm gonna do you something. So he like, wait, what? You gonna do me something? Nigga, you ain't gonna do me shit. So he tell me come on, get in the car. So I jump in the car and we ride out there or whatever. And at this time my daddy had this Cadillac, a blue Cadillac, the two-door, I won't say it was a DeVille or some shit. I know it wasn't no Eldorado. It was I won't say it was a DeVille. It was a two-door. I remember it was a blue two-door Cadillac though. And I remember he loved his Cadillac, because he always used to brag about, like, yeah, nigga, they talk about I get loaded and do all this, but what nigga, you know, had a motorbike, had a Cadillac, had a truck, and had, you know, talk about all this, you dig? And so he ride out there, and I'm talking about the whole ride, he talking about this shit. Like, he pumping himself up, like this old punk ass nigga. Your punk ass brother won't talk to me about, I wasn't there for him, ain't my fault he get loaded and all this shit like that. And at the time, at the age I was, I really didn't have it in me to say, man, daddy, look, you wrong. Like, you know what I'm saying? You wrong. Because you wasn't supposed to be getting loaded with this dude and all this shit. Like, you know, I understand that was your first child, so you ain't really understand how to raise a child and shit, but really you wrong, you know. But we pull up to the house or whatever. We pull up to the house, that nigga jump out the motherfucking car ready to go, you hear me? And so my brother happened to be walking from the back out the little garage, because he stayed back there in the garage. They had made like a little, I don't want to say a house, but you know how people are turning a garage into a living space for somebody. And so that's what he had. And so he happened to be coming out the garage, and he come walking up, and when he saw my daddy, he turned around, you hear me? And he turned around, he picked up something, and I ain't know what it was. He ain't know what it was at first, but he like, now nigga, you want what you was saying on that fucking phone? What you gonna do me, nigga? What you gonna do me? And so my brother grandparents come out, and when he saw his grandparents come out, he kind of got a little move rowdy where he like, yeah, nigga, you better get it from in front of this house. You better get from in front of this house. And he like, what? What you gonna do? And what you gonna do? And they like, oh, Charles Edward, please don't do this here. I just was trying to tell you calm him down. But he alright now and all that. He like, no, cause he ain't gonna talk to me like this and all that. And he like, talk to you like what? Nigga, you a bitch. And nigga, you a bitch. You was never there for me. Nigga, you ain't no fucking daddy, nigga. And all that shit. So when he started saying that nigga like, you know, people say the truth hurt. The truth hurt. So I guess the truth was hurting him. As he saying, you ain't no daddy, nigga, you was never there for me and all that type of shit. And like, he like, nigga, you do drugs with me, nigga. You do drugs with me, what kind of daddy you is? And I'm just like, Lord, this shit is crazy, or whatever. So, they like get face to face, you hear me? And, that nigga still off on my paw. Bah! He still off on him, but like, it did, I guess it wasn't really no powerful punch or something, cause that nigga ate that bitch and he hit that ball. Boop, boop. And, at this time, they kind of made their way up there by the gate, and cause like I said, it's a garage back there in the driveway and then the gate, and he parked outside the gate, you hear me? And so he hit that ball, he stole up on that ball, and my daddy ate that bitch. He hit that ball, bup, bup, and that boy kind of stumbled, and the whole time he had this brick in his other hand, you hear me? And so he like kind of run. It's like he ain't run, but he kind of, you know, he kind of take off in the other direction away from my daddy, you hear me? And so my daddy, he like, I guess he ain't, you know, come to the, like, I'm fighting my son out here, this shit ain't right or whatever. So he start walking back towards the car, and I'm over there by the car like, man, daddy, come on, man, like, come on, cause his grandparents like, you know, trying to tell me say something and all this, and I'm like looking at them like I'm a kid. What the hell I'ma say? You hear me? Like, y'all are older people, but you know, looking back on it now, like they old, like these people in their 60s and 70s, like, you know, so it's like, how could they contain the shit? You did, and so I'm like, daddy, come on, man, like, come on, or whatever. So he still talking a little shit like, punk ass nigga, put your hands on me, you gonna run, nigga, and all that shit. So my brother, he turned back around, he like, what? He go like charging towards the car. So I'm like, oh Lord, here he go, things about to be around too. Shit, that nigga take that brick and he threw the brick, boom, and broke my daddy's window, you hear me? Man, that nigga got so mad. Well, I'm talking about, that nigga got so mad, you hear me? That nigga didn't even open the gate to go back. He jumped over the gate. My brother ran back in the garage or whatever. And he like, you punk ass nigga, you motherfucker, you gonna break my window, bitch, and all this. Don't ever call me and all that. Come out here, nigga. You better not ever fucking call me. I don't want to see you no more. And all this shit like that. And my brother behind the door saying whatever he's saying. I couldn't really make out the words he was saying, but you could hear him hollering stuff back. You dig? And so the ride back home was an awkward ride because it was quiet. Like, you know, he was in the car, he huffing and puffing, he did, and we riding and shit. And I swear it was like the the Friday shit, you hear me? Or next Friday when your girl threw the brick through their window, and as they riding, the motherfucking glass fall move. Like, that's how that shit was. Yeah, we riding, got the brick through the down window, and I mean, I guess he kept looking at that shit, at this brick in his down window. And I remember we stopped at a red light. He was coming out the east, you hear me? And we stopped at the red light, and that motherfucker fell through. Like, you hear me? Just like, cause pieces were falling, but then that bitch just fell through, dog. And that nigga just like, he just was mad, son. I remember he was mad. And when we finally got home, he sat in the front. I had went in the room, cause, you know, like, I ain't know what to think at that point. Like, I ain't know what to think. I was just like, shit, I ain't had nothing to see or nothing. And I remember, cause like, in that apartment we had stayed in Frenchman Wharf at that time, you hear me? And it's like you had to come out the room to go in the bathroom, you hear me? And so, well, fuck, I know y'all probably like, what the fuck you mean? You gotta come out the room to go to the bathroom like that, but it's just the way it was made, and that's why I'm saying it like that. Like, in certain places you could go through the room to the bathroom, but it wasn't like that. Like, you had to come out the room to go to the bathroom. And when you come out the room, you go in the living room, like, and I remember him sitting on the sofa, and he was drinking and he was crying, and he called me over there, and he was like crying, and he was saying, man, I'm sorry raised y'all like this, and I'm fucked up and all this type of shit like that. And I remember 2 days after that, this how I ended up going to California for my first time. Cause he was like, he wanted to get off the dope and shit like that. And my brother, my oldest brother, and him, they kind of rekindled. They said they sorries and apologies and all that type of stuff. And he was telling him that he was sorry because he on the drug. He want to kick the drugs because he want to be a better daddy and all that type of stuff. And my brother was already getting set up to go out to Newark, California. And so he said, man, you could do it or whatever. And I remember that was the first time I ever saw somebody struggling with trying to get off heroin and going through the withdrawals and stuff like that. And I remember sitting there with him some days, because he was like he had to kick this shit before he went out there by my brother, because my brother had got married to this chick and whatever, and they had got a house out there in Newark, California. And it was crazy to see my pa like that, like seeing him shaking and sweating, and like sometimes he just have these moments where he'll just be like mean like a motherfucker, cursing and just like mad, and then sometimes he'll be alright, he'll be crying, he'll go through all these different mood swings, and I didn't understand. I'm like, man, this nigga tripping, But my oldest brother trying to tell me, like, man, it ain't him, it's the drugs. He trying to come off the drugs or whatever. And I remember seeing that, and I was like, you could see it was hard for him, And he finally, like, I don't know, I ain't gonna lie and say I know he shook it, cause when years past, when I was in South Carolina, he was doing dope and shit again. I don't know how the crack shit is or whatever, but I know he was saying he was trying to kick the dope shit or whatever. And we went out there to Newark, California, by my brother's house, and like I said, his wife. And my brother, he was still doing drugs and shit. And I remember we was in the garage the night that this shit kicked off. We was in the garage, and we smoking that California weed, boy. It was the first time my daddy passed the blunt to me. And in my mind, looking back on it now, it was like it was a recycling thing. Like, this how it started with you and my oldest brother, and now you doing this with me, passing me the blunt, because I'm young. I'm like I want to say about 12 or 13 at this time. And he passing me the blunt or whatever, so I'm smoking, getting loaded. I remember that boy there and passed out on a little chair he was sitting on, and burnt a hole in his shirt from the blunt, the weed. Yeah, then fell down, because I ain't like that weed was good though, but it fell on his shirt. And it was wasn't the first time I ever smoked weed, but it was the first time I ever smoked some good ass weed like that. So I'm so super goofy. Me and my brother laughing about it. My brother leave out the garage and leave us in there. And I wake my daddy up, and I'm laughing with him about you burnt the hole, so he laughing about it. And then next thing I know, probably about 10-15 minutes later, my brother's wife come running in the garage. Oh my God, get him, he going crazy. And we like, what you talking about or whatever. And we go out there, and this nigga on the damn roof shouting at his next door neighbors with two big butcher knives in his hand. And I never saw nothing like this. I was like, man, what the fuck? Like, I always looked at my brother different after that, because I was like, what the fuck wrong with him? You hear me? It had started from, his wife told us he was looking at this, it was like a little pinhole in the wall, you hear me? A pinhole in the wall. And he said he was looking at his neighbors like they were trying to break in his house through this pinhole through the wall, you hear me? And when he showed us the pinhole, it was apparent, nigga, you were tripping. And after all that happened, we found out that the nigga had done some meth or some shit. That was the first time I ever heard about meth and all that. I ain't never knew nothing about it or whatever. But that day was crazy because it went from a good day to the worst day because I'm talking about that nigga had cooked the roast. My brother, that nigga could cook his ass off. He had cooked this roast for us and shit. He was showing me how to cook and marinate and all that. Like, it was a good big brother, little brother vibe. It was like good family vibes and shit. It just all turned left. And at the end of all that, you know, he come and he tell me he's sorry and all that. And at that time, I was just like, man, I ain't got time for none of y'all niggas. Y'all niggas is crazy. These drugs is fucking y'all up. You hear me? And you know. And that's crazy when I think about it, how I went to selling drugs and shit and going through that shit with my family, seeing different family members struggle with drugs, and I went to selling drugs. That's crazy, but we ain't gonna talk about that right now, but just think about like how that whole situation turned from good to bad. And I remember it was crazy because I had liked it out there. I kind of liked it out there in that part of California, whatever. It was real good weather, real beautiful houses. It was nice people, all that type of shit. And after that, you know, we had to go back to New Orleans. My daddy was mad. He like, man, we leaving. And that nigga, I told you, that nigga that fucked up and all this. And I always, like I said, I didn't have it in me to say, man, daddy, like, if some kind of way you could check yourself, you might could help him, and both of y'all get some help or whatever. But he never looked at it like that. He always tried to look at it like, it ain't my fault that this nigga on drugs. It ain't my fault he the way he is, and you know, I ain't that bad or whatever. But it's like, really, in reality, both of y'all are fucked up on these drugs, and y'all both need help or whatever, man. So to the people out there, because I know in every family they have addicts. Now, that don't mean that the family member that is dealing with addiction is close to you or not. But if you do have family members that's close to you that's dealing with addiction, I can tell you it's a tough battle to help them. It's a tough battle to deal with them, you know, on a day-to-day basis, because one day they could be cool and the next day they could be a whole nother monster, you know, from stealing from you, from violence, and, you know, lying, and, you know, just a whole lot goes with that. But always try to remember that it's not them. It's really not them. It is that addiction. Like, that shit is real. You hear me? So before you just shun them out or I don't want no parts with you, always try to remember that inside that body is still a human soul, and trust me, they know when they fuck up, they know when they fucking up, but they need that drug, and no matter how much you want them to stop or get help, it's never gonna happen until they ready. It's like it come a time when it's just I'm tired of living like this, and I don't want to live like this no more. And when that time comes, that'll be the best time for you to try to give the help that you want to give, you know. As long as it's you that want them to change and trying to give them help, you can always fail. You can always get that heartbreak. Because if they not ready to change, it's nothing you can say or do that's going to make them change. You hear me? So the best thing I can say to anybody that's dealing with family members or friends that's dealing with addiction is, don't try to help right now. You know what I'm saying? Don't try to help right now. But when they ready and they seriously and they ready to give it up and kick, that's when you interject your help, because that's the only time it's gonna, you know, probably work. You know, like I said, if they ain't ready, it ain't no chance of it working. But when they ready to really change their life, that's the best time. You hear me? And that's what I came to see. And I'm out, man. Culture.
We don't speak for years, just know one thing, I'ma still ride. Eyes in the sky, they watching me, want me to slip up. I might fall back, but I never give up. I want the fringes like Aretha, slice it with my niggas like some pizza, 10 kills.